There are moments in life that change the way we think about people we thought were close and trustworthy. When I found out about my wife's betrayal, the world collapsed under my feet. Seeing her betrayal and lies was unbearable, but I decided not to let it ruin me. After a while, when I found strength and wisdom in myself, I decided to do what made her betrayal impossible to forget. I got my revenge, but in an unusual and unexpected way. In this video, I will share with you the amazing story of my cheating wife, my journey to the truth, and how I got back at her with the return of lost dignity. Get ready for an amazing drama filled with intrigue, betrayal, and retribution. I will show you that sometimes the most unusual measures lead to the most unexpected results. Get ready for a terrific story that will turn your perception of treason upside down and show you that sometimes revenge can be the only way to get your peace and justice back. What can I say? Marriage is not as good a thing as it is painted. I, for one, had been married for 13 years. That's a good number, isn't it? I, for one, believed it would never happen to us because we loved each other, valued each other, and valued each other. Fool. What kind of a fool was I then? And for 13 years, I lived like a blind, knave jackass on a string. But first things first, I've always believed in my wife, and frankly, did not even think that she is able to betray, deceive, and cheat. And for this, I paid not only nerves, but also my health. It turned out everything, like in the movies. The cancer, breast cancer. My wife and I were treated for a long time. We even went to church and prayed. In general, together we fought the trouble that befell us, and it was during this period that my wife killed me. Hell is paved with good intentions. My wife had good intentions and decided to repent and purify her soul. She repented. At the beginning of our relationship, we went through a bit of a rough patch. I was having male problems. There were problems in my sperm, or we couldn't conceive a child. I took a long time to heal, and my wife was there for me, and yet we got through it. God gave us 2 sons 2 years apart. Well, the oldest son turned out to be mute. My wife, for our sake, yes, slept with another according to her good man, and just for the child for our sake. It turns out that 3 years before she got sick, she had an affair with a coworker. The affair lasted a year, and she repented of that. But here too, they said that both are to blame, as they claim relations have come to naught, and she did not have enough of my attention. Oh, to a point, I worked like an ox to close our loans, and did not expect such a blow from her. But we got over my wife's illness, but the relationship was killed. I couldn't take it all. It was eating me up from the inside for a long time, and it still does. And I broke down, and I got my revenge. Didn't want to be together, just met someone else. That's all, and now I live with my mistress. Like meetings, intimacy, feelings, dates. And with my wife, it's just inertia. I don't even know what to call it. And I can't leave, because my wife seems to have coped with it. And the age is already a factor, as I am under the romantic age. And health does not allow. And besides, I cannot leave my sons. But I don't want to live with her after all, no matter how hard I tried. But I could not forgive. Thence the story. My wife is making amends and doing everything, but my soul is already burnt out. And my heart has been silent for a long time. I guess I just feel sorry for my wife. What do I want? I don't want anything. I want the pain and resentment to go away. I realized that in our marriage, behind all these problems and their solutions, there was nothing at all. Words. And then the oldest son wasn't mine. Then her affair for a year. And then my nervous breakdown and heart attack at some 40 years old. My mistress had practically the same thing. Husband was a businessman and had been walking around all his life. Now, after an accident, she's lying in the hospital like a plant. She and I met two singles. They have kids and no one wants to break up the family, so the kids don't suffer in the first place. What do you want me to say? Why did your older son get involved? What's his fault? I took a time out with my mistress. Both of us need to sort ourselves out, me and my mistress. I also partly understand my wife, but I was treated. I went to doctors, and not in vain. We had our youngest child. Why did she do that? Thinking pregnant on the side. If she went to hospitals with me, why did she do it? Her eldest son, he's spiritually mine. He and I are close. And my youngest too. The boys are good, smart kind. They won't be lost in life. And those relations of the wife on the side before the disease. I won't forgive that. I can't forgive that. I trusted her like I trusted myself. I love her. And in return, nothing but lies and deceit and betrayal. No, she's not a bad hostess and a good mother, but she's not the best character. Price I wanted to separate. That's the first time, when the eldest was a year old. The second time, when the kids were in kindergarten. Both times because of her mother. Wife listens to her and looks right into her mouth. And that woman, for as long as I can remember, always turned my wife against me. But she did. That's what I decided for myself. I'll put the boys on their feet and leave. Right now, I'm not good at all. It was all that I wanted to get from my wife and what I got in a pittance and in drops. I get everything in huge quantities from my mistress, and frankly, I'm giving it my all. It makes me want to kill myself. You get family with your mistress, not with your wife. I don't talk about intimacy. When I was with my goat, I was with her for a year, and I got it once a week. And with a face like I was doing her a favor. No, I don't see a way out now. It probably isn't one. And then I had my grievances, but even then I didn't run to the side. I was trying to solve my family problems. As for what's going on now, you could say this. What's the use of putting shoes on amputated legs? It's the way it is with my wife. Yes, she does. Yes, she tries. But what's the use of doing it all now when she killed it all with her own hands long ago? About my relationship with my mistress, she didn't promise me anything, nor did I promise her anything. We didn't want a relationship at all. It all started with communication. Simple, friendly communication. Understanding and supportive. We found in each other what a family should be. And it's unfortunate. Yes, a relationship with her is an escape from the problems in the family. Escape from a deadlock in life that won't let go and won't let you live. a respite in this endless struggle, in this betrayal, deceit, and filth. I have my heart in her and in my sons, and she has no one but me. I can't leave her. Otherwise, with all this swamp, she will be left alone. I understand what you could hint at in terms of her, but there's no mercantilism in her. I mean, she could have called my wife a long time ago, for instance, and told me everything. But she didn't do that. She didn't make conditions. She didn't demand anything. Even when she had problems, she didn't talk about it. I found out and helped her myself, even though she refused and cried. I mean, who's the worst person in this world? It certainly wasn't her, and you know she was the only person who genuinely cared for me. She was the only person who didn't beat me to the punch and betray me, who was there for me. Yes, I'm no better than my wife. Yes, I got my revenge, even though I don't wish it away. But that's not what I'm living for now, and it's not for me. All I have in my mind are my children and my mistress. My wife is different. She's in my brain. Even though I'm a bad person, I'm trying to make things right. I'm trying to do something different, and I probably don't matter anymore myself. And a little more about the kids. My mistress has a stepson, and that stepson has hated her all his life. In all his life, he thinks she only wants his father's money, except his father has been in debt all his life and probably owes a lot more than he has. Now the mistress, in addition to her ailing husband, has a 20-year-old son who is not only not helping her with her father, but is also trying to sabotage her. They are also making intrigues, trying to take her apartment away from her and trying to cheat her out of her money. My mistress is a relative and close to me. It's not just passion or wild, unrestrained sex. No, it's understanding. It's support. It's a conscious connection to a person on a spiritual level. For my entire marriage, I didn't have that. My wife and I weren't as close, and there was even more passion with her, but I wasn't drawn to her like I was to my mistress. We went out with her every time. It felt like I was home, like I was back home. And with my wife as bitter as it was, I never had that feeling with her. Even when we were young and didn't get out of bed, my wife and I didn't have spiritual unity and understanding. First, when I look into my mistress's eyes, I see a light. She is always happy to see me, and in all the time of our communication and relationship, we have never had a rift or even a scandal. She is an amazing person, and the fact that she didn't leave her husband and that she and her stepson aren't fighting, and she's trying to make at least a peaceful dialogue, says a lot. I think my wife, if I were in this situation like my mistress's husband, would leave me and go away. And I would die alone. I can't leave my mistress because she needs me. And I know that. But I also know that I can't do it, that I'm not ready because I need her too. And I probably can't be alone in this swamp without her. I'm definitely going to rot and go into the ground. You know, that's just how the puzzle came together. My wife is devout, and the fact that she decided to repent to me and ask for forgiveness is understandable. Things were bad then. I pressed her hard, and I honestly guessed there was something behind it. I'm not a fool, and I saw that she was on the verge of a breakdown. And I saw what was going on between us. I didn't think it was on this scale, and I didn't expect it to explode with such force. but it didn't explode weakly and gave me powder. My eldest son, if you don't know, looks like me. Same color eyes, same voice as me. Well, my boys and I have the same voice, but mine is more bassy and hoarse. But that's because of the years. Even the older one has a nose like mine. The youngest is a copy of me and my father. So it's not like there's a problem or an issue. Yes, my wife is trying to give me everything now. She's trying to fix everything. But I know it's not real. She's like a dog that's bitten its master, finally licking the hand that fed her, which she also bit. How am I supposed to live with all this? I don't want to go back morally. I haven't lived at all for the last 8 years. Work is my home. And at home, if it weren't for the kids, I would have hanged myself. My wife wouldn't say a kind or affectionate word. She just meets me with a sour, unhappy face, and there are constant scandals and words like correctly, my mother said. It's funny, but that's how it is. And now, after all this time, in her actions, I have to believe in her love and feeling and want it all back. Really, I feel sorry for her. I don't want to hurt her, but I don't have anything good left for her either. Just with her attitude and all the domesticity that she has pretty much poisoned, her life, her character, and her mother, she has killed it all. And now, after a mistress and just a good human relationship, I have no idea how or what I can build with my wife. Thank you for listening. Act now on to the second story. There are moments in our lives that are forever memorable and change the way we think about people we thought we knew like the back of our hand. This story I'm about to tell today is unusual and stunningly intriguing. It will tell of a secret affair I discovered by accident and a shocking conversation I heard behind closed doors. We were in our bedroom and everything seemed normal. I didn't suspect anything. But then she said those words, asking me to be quiet and doing it behind my back so our son wouldn't hear. I was in shock. My hands trembled and my heart pounded harder. What could this mean? Why would she commit adultery, knowing I was there for her? In this video, I will tell you the whole truth about cheating on my wife, how I dealt with the shock and the decisions I made. Be prepared for incredible twists and turns of events, revelations, and an emotional storm that turned my life upside down. This is a story that will touch everyone and make them think about loyalty and betrayal. Don't miss the opportunity to dive into this amazing life story. Good afternoon. My name is Vyacheslav. I honestly don't know where to turn. My problem may not seem like a problem to anyone at all. But for me, family and son are everything, and cheating is a big wound. A couple of months ago, my wife moved with my son into a rented apartment. Or not just any apartment, a lover's apartment. For 4 years, the child lived in a nice 2-bedroom apartment in a separate room with everything for play and development. There is a children's sports corner, and all the comfortable conditions for the growth and development of the baby were created. Though the child's living conditions, to put it mildly, have deteriorated. He is now in a rented shack at an unknown address. I have no idea of the conditions in which my son lives. According to my mother, who is the child's grandmother, they live in a 1-room apartment. The child sleeps on one couch, and my wife and her lover sleep on the other, in a cramped apartment with minimal amenities. Among other things, the child is used to his grandmother. He loves her more than he loves me, and more than he loves his mother, since it was not the mother but the grandmother who spent most of the time with her grandson. My grandmother was a teacher by education, an honored teacher of Moscow. She was in charge of the child's education and development. Now communication is reduced to once a week, and not always. The boy suffers, and every time he asks his mother, "Why are you taking me to Uncle Roma?" I don't want to go there. I want to stay with Daddy and Grandma. I'm ready to devote myself to raising my son completely. He doesn't need breastfeeding anymore. But from this age, according to psychologists, both Russian and world-class, a boy needs his father more. The child reaches out to me, adopts his father's behavior, and takes his example. You see, I don't want my child to be raised by my stepfather who wants to take care of his son. What the hell is a stepfather? He's just my wife's lover. My wife loves my son as much as I do, but she doesn't take care of him properly. The kid is on the phone and she's knitting all day long. It was like that when she was on maternity leave. A conceit of now. She's out at work and she has plans to build a career. There were times and fights when she needed to stay with the baby, but she was taking him to daycare, endangering the child's health. I would call the caregiver and pick up my son, as the mother could not because of work, as she was often on business trips. What will you think with a lover? I don't want to separate my son from his mother. I don't want to prevent them from communicating. But I want my son to be raised by me, not by his stepfather, to grow up in a normal apartment and to eat well. No one in our family smokes. My wife's lover smokes. I think it also harms the child and sets a bad example. Else already my wife is preventing me from communicating with my son on various pretexts. Despite my wife's love for the child, she behaves selfishly. There have been times when she pays more attention to her work than to him. We had repeated quarrels on this basis. She often goes to her girlfriend's house, where they drink. I wouldn't say my wife is a drinker, no, but she likes to drink. Actually ever drank. I quit smoking before the baby was born. There was even a case where she wanted to take him to a friend's house at night to drink wine and put the baby to bed in someone else's apartment. And often she breaks her sleep and rest schedule, goes to bed when her wife gets tired of drinking with her friends. There have also been scandals on this basis. Like I tell her, I don't let you live, let you do what you want. But why should the child suffer? A couple of times after a girlfriend came to visit, my wife would be humming and vomiting all night long. Also, she gets migraines in this state and just can't keep track of the baby. And when that happened, I would just quit my job and babysit my son. It was trying to keep the family together. That's a fact. I used to tell my wife, okay, you've fallen out of love with me. Okay, alright. You can have a relationship with your lover. But let my son grow up with his father. To which she said, is that what I want? It's my life and the child will put up with it and get used to it. But to come to an agreement with his wife does not work from the word go. She's busy building a relationship with her lover. The child has been put on the back burner. The saddest thing for me, at least, is that for almost a year, a whole year, she was betraying and cheating on me, being married, and at the same time waiting for the right moment for her to leave. She moved out when she was married. She didn't even wait for the divorce. By the way, the trial is still pending, but I doubt that the decision will be in my favor since the judges are women. And in our country, the child is almost always left with the mother, even if it goes to the baby's detriment. My wife and lover don't have their own place, but I do. If they are asked to leave a rented apartment, they have nowhere to go. My wife is registered at her mother's, but she is a smoker and an alcoholic, to be honest. And the worst thing is that the apartment is uninhabitable conditions. There was a case where the apartment was in such a state that they had to be taken to the hospital. The child came in with bruises. Later, it became known that the affair, that is the lover, slapped my son with a newspaper. I think it is unacceptable that my son is beaten, especially by a stranger. Yes, I also spanked him sometimes, but not once was there any tears or resentment. When my wife spanked my son, there was always a sea of tears. I used to fight with her on this basis as well. I was caring, telling her that you should not beat the baby because you are a mother. Moreover, I told her that you do not know how to calculate the force and hurt the child. To summarize, I've tried to keep the family together and have done everything to do so. My wife is being selfish and sacrificing the baby for her own ambitions and for her own desire. I'm older, more experienced, and wiser. She is emotional and young. I hope for understanding and for your advice. Because frankly, I do not know what to do in this situation. I have written to you in order to hear a wise decision. I will be grateful to you for it. Regards, Vyacheslav. Dear listeners, please let's help Vyacheslav to understand this situation. I received this story on my mail, which you can find under the video in the description.